Ivan was the first to wake up. It was 11 o'clock on the clock, which he had borrowed from Roman during the night. The sun had long ago risen, and its bright rays illuminated the island. A light breeze was blowing, shaking the leaves of trees and bushes. "Oh, when will it end?" was the first thought that came to the awakened man. Vanya quietly jumped up and walked towards the edge of the forest, apparently to do the things that people usually do in the morning. He was a rather shy man, so he went a little further into the woods, about 5 meters. He was not afraid, for it was obvious yesterday that the local freaks were afraid of light, and the sun's rays penetrated even through the leaves of the trees, illuminating the forest carpet. Having noticed a small sunlit clearing, Vanya decided to stop there. Glancing around, he began to unbutton his pants, when suddenly he heard the crunch of a broken twig under what seemed to him to be someone's foot. Vanya became wary. He felt uncomfortable. Tucking his pants back on, he began to look in the direction of the noise. After a couple of moments, someone began to flicker between the trees. It was a man. Ivan managed to make him out. It was a slender girl, with blonde hair gathered in a ponytail. She was dressed in a turquoise t-shirt, polo shirt, red shorts, and a cap, and she had a pink backpack hanging on her back. She was walking in the opposite direction from the camp at a brisk pace. Strangely, she and Ivan missed each other. Our hero, forgetting everything, ran after her. After overcoming 100 meters, he noticed that the girl seemed to have evaporated. Where did she go? Thought Ivan. After a short visual inspection, he caught her again. "Hello!" he shouted to her. There was no response from the girl. "Wait. Where are you going?" Ivan tried to get through to her again. And again his efforts were in vain. The girl kept walking without stopping. Then Vanya began to follow her. Maybe she was deaf? Or bananas in her ears? "I'll go after her. How did she get here? She must have come here with friends." "Yes. That's right. They have a boat. We're finally getting off this damn island," he muttered to himself. It was a long walk. It was already 16 o'clock on the clock, and when Vanya noticed it, he was shocked, and then he changed from stride to run to catch up with the girl, and when he caught up with her, and there was about 15 meters between them, the girl abruptly stopped. They found themselves in some dark glade, inaccessible to the sunlight, next to which there was a ditch to their right that separated the glade from the forest, through which a stream flowed. Ivan became confused. He did not understand what was going on. "Excuse me, can you hear me?" The traveler was still standing stock still, with her back to him, not paying any attention. After a little hesitation, Vanya took a couple of steps toward the girl, when suddenly he felt the pain of a sharp blow to his legs from behind, from which he collapsed to his knees. Trying to get up and see his attacker, he saw a dark silhouette of a man swinging. Someone struck his head with a club, which made Ivan roll over in a ditch and lose consciousness. "What time is it?" Roman muttered in a sleepy voice as he got up. "I do not know. You have a watch?" Maxim answered. "No. I think I gave them at night to Vanya. By the way, where is Vanya?" Nikolai joined me, surprised. The boys looked at each other, jumped up from their bunks. Could it be that this creature took him? Nikolai began. No. Could not. Roman was angry. What do we do now? Who is next? Nicholas began to speak fearfully. What makes you think that the creature took him? Roman snapped back at him. Yes, we should not bury Vanya before his time. Max added. Suddenly the guys heard a shout, "Hello!" All became quiet and listened. Was I the only one who heard someone shouting, "Hi?" Max asked. Quiet, whispered Roman. There was another shout, "Stop! Where are you going?" The boys recognized Ivan's voice. Damn! Why did he go to the forest? Roman started. What shall we do with him now? Nikolai asked with his hands spread. What to do? Follow him, of course. What if he does not come back before dark? Max added. What if we don't make it? Kolya objected. Max is right. We must go after him. We must not leave him alone in the woods. Kolya, you're coming with me. No, 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 I'm not going. I don't want to meet those creatures. And who? Max? He's got a leg. Ha, never mind his leg. I'll go, it doesn't seem to hurt that much. Max grinned. Okay, fine. Then you, Roman said pointing to Kolya, prepare everything for our arrival, so that when it gets dark you can make a huge fire. Okay? Yes, everything will be in the best shape. Kolya answered. Translated with www.dpel.com/translator, free version. After finishing their dialogue, the boys gathered to follow Vanya, taking with them the knife that Roma had and the homemade spears and flashlights, just in case they didn't make it before dark. Under no circumstances leave the shore, understand? Roman told Nikolai as an admonition. Of course. I am not a fool. Ironically answered the latter. Roman and Max set off, while Nicholas remained on the shore, watching them until they disappeared into the thick island forest. They walked straight ahead without turning around. The guys suspected the way Ivan went, because there were corresponding signs in the forest, a treaded path in the forest grass, visible traces on the forest carpet. All this indicated that Vanya went to the center of the island. We were walking and walking, but we still hadn't reached the opposite shore. And judging by the sun, it's going to be evening soon, remarked Maxim. It is all strange. I remember how we reached the shore on the second day, but here we are walking straight ahead, and the forest is not over. Roman joined us. Suddenly the boys heard Ivan shouting, "Excuse me, can you hear me?" "Oh, it's Vanya," Roman remarked. "Who was he with?" Max answered. "The hell he knows, let's go faster, we have to catch up with him." Roman increased his pace. They were walking again and could not understand anything. When will this forest end? Max asked angrily. Look, here the tracks break off, Roman remarked. They looked around to see if they had missed anything, but their search was useless. Vanya. Shouted Max. 4 picked up Roman. Ha 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 ha. An evil laugh resounded in the distance. Meanwhile, Nicholas was sitting quietly on the shore, not afraid that anything could happen. Nothing seemed to disturb him, only he was wrong. As soon as he heard the boys in the wilderness calling for Ivan, he heard the sound of leaves and the crunching of brushwood. Someone is coming. Probably Vanya, he thought. Rising from his heated comfortable seat, he headed towards the edge of the forest to see who was coming, but what he saw shocked him. In the woods stood a man in dirty tattered rags, wearing a hood. His eyes were bloodshot. He was smiling viciously, his mouth full of sharp teeth. Kolya's heart nearly jumped out of his chest at the sight of it. He turned sharply and ran back, hoping to grab something he could defend himself with. He grabbed a homemade spear and turned to face the woods, but saw no one. "Oh, that's a vision," he said with relief. Suddenly the sound of leaves was heard again, but already 10 meters to the right. Kolya looked in that direction and there was the man again. "What do you want?" Nikolai shouted, and the man responded by pointing at him with his forefinger and gesturing at his neck, which really made Kolya feel very frightened. His heart was beating with such force that he could hear his heartbeat, and he could hardly breathe. After this sign, the stranger turned his back on Kolya and disappeared out of sight into the woods. Shit. I wish the guys would come back. The sun was about to set, and he was afraid that the sun would soon begin to set. Roman and Max stood silent and listened without moving, as if the world would end if anybody moved. "Is it quiet?" Roman started whispering. "Shall we go back?" Max asked. "I don't know. Where the hell is Vanya? We won't find him anyway, but at least we made some attempts." "All right. We'll follow our own footsteps back. Just make it quick." "All right. What are you worried about?" "There's nothing wrong with my leg." Having finished the dialogue, they walked back along their own footsteps, wondering what could have happened to Vanya, and what was that ominous laughter, fearing that something would catch up with them. The sun began to set, the sky began to turn pink, and the boys were still walking through the woods. "We were almost there." "Well, I think so," Maxim remarked. "What the?" Frightened and surprised Roman asked. In front of them there were trails that diverged in 3 directions. Now they were faced with the problem of which path to choose. They did not want to stay in the woods, because it would soon be night. "Kolya! Kolya! Ow!" Roma started to shout, hoping to get an answer, to orient themselves by the noise. "Kolya! Kolya!" Maxim joined in. "Maxim! Maxim! Maxim! Ha ha ha! Roman! 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 Ah ha 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 ha!" Someone shouted back at the boys angrily and teasingly. "Ah, where are they? What's taking so long? That Vanya. I am not angry with him." Aloud was Nicholas talking to himself. His reasoning was interrupted by someone's terrible call. "Kolya! Kolya! You! Ha 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 ha!" This again knocked him out of his rut. He began to fear that the creature was coming for him and that it was waiting for the sun to set. He was only comforted by the thought that the creatures were afraid of the fire he would make a huge bonfire and no one would be able to get near it. The sunset, meanwhile, was coming to a close. The sun was halfway over the horizon. Maxim stayed with Roman in the woods, and Nikolai lit a fire and waited for the worst. And Ivan? Ivan woke up all damp when the sun had completely disappeared over the horizon in a muddy ditch, in which he had lain all day. Oh, shit. My head. Where? It's cold. He muttered. What was that? How did I get here? He. Sounded in the distance an old woman's laughter. The branches stirred, and Vanya braced himself for the worst.